Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back with another review of P-Valley. Welcome to Watch Dearest TV, by the way. This is a review of Season 2, Episode 5, White Knights. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Let's start with the review. Okay, so this episode starts with them basically in a strip club in Atlanta. This episode seems to be narrated by Uncle Clifford, and it seems to be about Keyshawn, her backstory. So this is interesting. We get an origin story in this episode. Keyshawn has been, basically blowing up, with her own lace front and stuff like that. So she got that going on for her while working with Little Murder. Big Teak and Little Murder, they still have tension obviously going on there. Still some trouble in paradise, I guess you can say. But then again, the episode isn't about them, so let's move on. Um, we see that Jocelyn has a cameo in this. I can tell that definitely she writes her own music. I'm just gonna say that. Leave it there. Let me see. Yeah, so we see a cameo from her. Let me see. Keyshawn graces the pole, and we see her on the pole in this episode. We ain't seen her on the pole in a while. As we see her origins as a cheerleader. So I guess that her upbringing and stuff like that in high school, being a cheerleader, can also correlate with her being a. I guess that can also help out with her being a stripper also within the future. She ends up meeting her future boyfriend Derek. We see a younger version of him, and we see also her stepsisters too, or her stepsister, and she would go to high school with her. Let me see. Derek shows his violent side when he basically defends Keyshawn. And since he was white and a cheerleader, they thought he must have been weak. So the guys that he ends up defending Keyshawn's honor against, they must have thought he was soft because I guess he was a white boy that was doing cheerleading, whereas they were black guys that did football. So he must have looked at him as being soft. So yeah, that's how that happened. That's a lot going on there in that scene. Keyshawn was raised in a nice home. It looks like, but with the stepmom and two stepsisters. It's kind of almost like a real life Beauty and the Beast kind of story going on there. I hope that's the right story. I hope that's the right fairy tale. I don't know which one. I think that's Beauty and the Beast. Whereas it's Cinderella has the two sisters. I'm not sure. I don't know which story, which fairy tale that is, but basically, I guess it's kind of similar to her origins. I guess you could say Derek is the Beast, maybe, except he's clearly an actual animal. Once he ends up seeing him in the future, who he becomes, how abusive he is. So yeah, we see a young Patrice also during a date where Keyshawn was with Derek during their, I guess, their supposed date, not date sort of thing. We see a young Patrice. That was interesting to see her. I'm not sure what time period this flashback takes place in. I don't really know. If this takes place, I guess maybe 10 years before the series P Valley or something like that, because it's hard to tell. Yeah, I don't know. We don't see anybody using. We can tell what time period a certain flashback took place in. If they have flip phones and it had to be during the 2000s. If they had more touchscreen phones, I'm guessing that took place during the 2010s. But I'm not sure when this flashback took place at. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it looked like she was in high school, and maybe she probably started stripping a few years after high school. I'm not sure what they're doing with Keyshawn. I don't know how long this took place, but who knows? It's just a flashback, so that's all we really know about it. Keyshawn's stepmom basically took her dad from her mom, so that's how that happened, and that's how Keyshawn ended up living with her stepmom. Her dad just basically just I guess left her, left her mom. Left he Keyshawn's dad left Keyshawn's mom to be with this new lady, so that's how that is. Keyshawn went from not being able to cheerlead to basically, like I said, pole dancing. That was a really interesting development from her to be in high school, not even making a cheerleading team, to basically being one of the top dancers at her strip club. That's a pretty interesting, I guess, upgrade. Or I mean, just look at where her career is now. She's with a famous rapper on the road, making money, got a lace front, so she's definitely have seemed like she's evolved in life. And back to Jocelyn. This is, I don't expect Jocelyn to be a Halle Berry or Angela Bassett with the acting, but it was like they just gave her lines and just told her to say them. I don't know which one was the worst actress. Either what was it, Big Bone from the previous episode or Jocelyn? Like it just I don't know. But basically, Jocelyn wants to help Keyshawn out and stuff like that, do business with her. Keyshawn had low self esteem living, in her, I guess, her lighter skinned stepsister's shadow. I guess that could have been going on. She was in her shadow, stuff like that. I guess maybe she got more, attention. Maybe she was lighter skinned, or maybe because, you know, she got support from the stepmom, well, not her stepmom, her actual mom, whereas Keyshawn is a stepchild, so she's kind of treated kind of like an outsider. So that's how that is with her. Her dad seemed to be a bit of a pervert when it comes down to his stepdaughter. That was some weirdness going on there. So he seems to sort of hint at that, the way how he was posing next to her, and so definitely Keyshawn's dad is a he's a weirdo, as you can see. Keyshawn was saved by it. I did find something that's kind of interesting, that Keyshawn was saved by a white man. It seems like, and the white guy Derek, she was saved by him from some happened to be young black boys who were picking on her. And it seems almost kind of ironic that it ends up going almost kind of full circle when in the future it takes Diamond, who was a black man, has to defend her and help her out when her abusive boyfriend Derek ends up abusing her in the future. It's almost kind of ironic how that happens. How it went from her being saved by Derek, and then basically in the future Diamond, a black dude, ends up having to protect her from Derek. It's kind of almost irony how that happens. That I just kind of noticed. I don't know if they did that intentionally, but it was pretty ironic that that happened. Derek's racist mom doesn't approve of him dating Keyshawn, and his dad is also abusive. So we see where Derek's abusiveness came from, was from his dad. So we get more of an idea of how his upbringing was. Even though he seemed to come from a wealthy upbringing, he seemed to definitely have a lot of issues from his childhood. Keyshawn and Derek end up basically, during prom, they end up hooking up inside of a cold car during the snow time, winter time. That was, probably one of the most unrealistic things on the show. Who in the world would have sex in a cold car during the winter time is beyond me. I don't know. That didn't even feel like that would even. Yeah, I don't know. I guess they're going with the whole fantasy, love, romance theme in this episode, so I guess you just had to go along with it. The whole fairy tale theme. The stepmom warns Keyshawn to not to be with a man, not to be a man's Barbie doll. That was interesting because that's sort of what she ends up sort of becoming in this episode, dealing with Rome. So she just basically sort of being put on just being pranced around basically as an object. So she is told this from her stepmom, and unfortunately she ends up sort of becoming that, while on the road. And then her, like I said, her stepmom was crying after she come home from prom. So I don't know, what did his stepdad, what did the father do? Did she realize that the dad was probably may have been messing around with his stepdaughter? I don't know if she was crying about that. I'm assuming that's what it was. I'm not sure what she was crying for. Maybe I wasn't paying much attention, but yeah, that was kind of odd. I'm guessing clearly, Krishan's mom has some issues going on with her dad, so Keyshawn and Woody suspect Little Murder and Big Teak are hooking up. They basically sort of put two and two together and get a feeling that them dudes are hooking up. Basically, they're the ones that suspected that they were kind of suspect. I guess I don't know. Something's going on between them, so they kind of figure something's going on there. They're not trying to out them or anything like that, but now Rome on the other hand most likely is trying to put them out there like that, trying to expose them. Rome is coming off. Speaking of him, he's coming off like a completely shady promoter, and he's basically getting Big T even madder in this episode. At first, Big T like he was just going completely insane, but Rome definitely shows a more disgusting side of him. In the flashback, we see that Keyshawn ends up getting pregnant, and Derek is getting mad and stuff like that. He's just getting angry, and Keyshawn is becoming more impatient with him, about how their lives turn out and stuff like that, and basically the abuse begins. He starts to choke her out and stuff like that. He says that his family disowned him for basically being with her, being a black woman, being with a black woman completely disowns him, and he comes from being in they both basically seem to come from being in nice homes to just living in a smaller house, and it's just the fairy tale sort of fades between them two, and he's showing his more true side. Rome gives Keyshawn a stripper heel. I guess it's kind of similar to like a Cinderella shoe. I guess, like I said, goes along with the fairy tale theme they're going on with this episode. So that was pretty interesting. Then Rome seems to somewhat want to exploit Keyshawn. Basically, sort of treat her like a Barbie doll. Um, it's kind of similar to when Fares sort of dissed Mercedes over being a stripper and stuff like that. I guess he sort of does the same thing with Keyshawn. And, so that basically it's sort of showing that he's beginning to treat her like a Barbie doll, like her stepmom was trying to warn her of trying to prevent a man from treating her that way. Rome turns from being basically a promoter to basically being a straight up pimp, basically. Rome finds out, like I said, he finds out Little Murder is gay. He already puts two and two together and figures that out. And he tries to sort of blackmail and attempt to basically sexually assault Keyshawn, just showing that he's a completely sick man, you know what I'm saying, like that. And Keyshawn tries to, in a flashback, well, she ends up getting away from this guy and completely kicks him right in the crotch, gets him up out of here, you know what I'm saying, gets him out the way, and she gets away even though she's unfortunately half nude and couldn't get a chance to get some clothes on. She had to get up out of there and get away from, Rome. In the flashback, we see Keyshawn tries to go back to her stepmom after Derek choked her up and stuff like that. And but let me see where her butt is left. She goes. Oh yeah, so basically she tries to go back to her stepmom to get help because Derek was abusive to her, and her stepmom basically doesn't let her in. Says that hey, some of y'all relationship have problems. Y'all just gotta fix it. So she just completely kicks her out and just be like, hey, it is what it is. So she completely turns her back on her own stepdaughter. Also there was some tension between her and Keyshawn already in this episode when Keyshawn exposed her for how they met in the first place. So already her stepmom didn't like her anyway. So I guess she was looking for any reason to turn her back on her own stepdaughter. So stepmoms are just cold. You just And so, ironically, also in present day, after she deals with another abusive man, Rome, she ends up running for help and goes to, I think his name is Woody. I can't pronounce his name. I don't know if it's, I guess it's Wooby. I don't know what his name. I'm just gonna call him Woody because I don't know. He got two D's in his name. I guess it's Wody. So she ends up going back to Wody, and we find out he's a good guy. At first, I thought maybe he was like jealous of Rome for hooking up with Rome was able to hook up with her in a previous episode. I thought that he was gonna be some type of jealous dude is gonna find some way to get Keyshawn for herself, but he's actually a good dude. And she basically wants to completely end the tour because, of course, she doesn't want to work with Rome. He's a sick rapist, so she wants to completely end the tour. Derek apologizes, and go flash back to Derek apologizing, Keyshawn, stuff like that with flowers. Basically, he's sort of beginning the cycle of abusing her, then apologizing, abusing her, then apologizing. Typical abusive relationship that he's doing and stuff like that to her. So that's just the beginning of the end. Derek has, and then we end up also finding out that Derek has was abusing the kids, kind of like his dad was doing to him. And he's doing this to kids, like hurting them. You know what I'm saying? And just you know, yeah, this is happening in present day. This is after the tour. He ends up hitting her and attempts to burn her with an iron. Derek is, and just so she stuck with this man, Like I said, I was wrong about Woby, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm gonna call him Woody because I don't know what his name. I never heard anybody named Woody before in my life, so I'm gonna call him Woody. We find out that he's actually a good guy. He confronts Rome and ends up poisoning him, and shares this like creepy death stories with him and stuff like that, and basically just shows that he gave him fentanyl, which is basically what a lot of these young rappers are using these days, is killing them all up. It's one of the things that also, God rest his soul, Michael K. Williams passed away, I believe. He passed away recently, a few months ago, over it. So basically, he ends up giving him fentanyl and basically kills Rome. Woody ends up, he should not have to. I found it was kind of weird he did that in front of witnesses. I thought that was pretty bold that he just basically was sitting up doing drugs with him. I don't know. I guess he must have took somehow Rome was able to get him to do it too. I guess so. Maybe he took some type of neutralizer that didn't work on him, because Rome didn't trust him. So I don't know, but basically he ends up doing this stuff. I don't know, what did Rome think he was going to be able to just attack Keyshawn and be able to just live on like none was going on? She was cool with Lil Murder and Teak, Big Teak. So I don't know, what did he think he was going to be able to just do that and just move on like nothing was going to happen? I don't know, but basically Wody poisons him at a party and just walks off. I don't know how he was able to get away with that with all the witnesses around, but he did it. Got rid of him, got him up out of here. So that's how the episode ends. This was a really good one. I was interested in seeing Keyshawn's backstory. That was interesting, seeing her, fairy tale themed backstory. I can't think of anybody else in the show whose backstory I like to hear from. Maybe Diamond would be interesting. It would to get to understand her backstory. I know this might seem a little random, but maybe also Whisper. She's just such a weirdo. I like to know, how did she become who she was? That'd be interesting to know more about her. I can't think of anybody else though whose origin story would be interesting to hear about. But this episode was a really good one. I think there's something. I think Modi might possibly go to jail for this. I don't think he'd be able to just do this and get away with it. I just don't, unfortunately. Even though he should be able to, I don't feel he will. But then again, I don't know. It's definitely there's gonna be some more tension going on between Lil Murder and Big Teague. I believe that most likely Big Teague is gonna have some type of confrontation with Clifford. Some type of confrontation going on there. Autumn, I don't know what's going on with her, but I doubt she's going to be on the outs for so long about trying to sell the pink. I know she's going to probably decide to not do it because she's the protagonist of the show, so they're going to need to change some stuff around for her. And yeah, so that's what that is. I can't think of any other characters I could think of from this episode where they my predictions for them, but yeah, that's about it. I can't think of anything else. Who else do I think might happen? Yeah, I don't know. But this episode was a really good one. Dope episode. Anyway, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, do all that stuff. And thank you for watching my video. And some more videos are coming for Watch Darius TV.